Welcome to the OCR Report podcast, brought to you by the OCRReport.com. We are the only podcast to focus exclusively on the elite sport of obstacle course racing, from Spartan to Tough Mudder to the OCR World Championships, and wherever the elites are racing, we are there. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the OCR Report. Jack Bauer, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Will. I think everyone knows what time of year it is, so let's talk about the Tahoe World Championship.
This weekend is the final race not the final race, but the biggest race of the Spartan race season, the Spartan World Championship, held again in Lake Tahoe, California.
5 years in a row.
5 years in a row. Well, let's start with that. What do you think about having it in the same venue 5 years in a row?
I think this is their last year here. I know that a lot of people have made the comparison with Ironman having their World Championship at Kona in Hawaii every single year, and you just kind of know that that's the World Championship and deal with it. But this is obstacle racing. There's just so many elements at play that are not typical to races throughout the season. So it goes back to that whole, should championship races be different than the rest of the season? I personally think that you should just be consistent throughout the year, and even though people know what to expect at this point, this being the fifth year in a row, so it's not like a brand new course for everybody, I still think that there are just some elements like the elevation that you really can't control. And I also think that it's the last week of September, and so far this year you've had scorching heat in Utah. Big Bear had some unpredictable weather, but you were in Jacksonville and Alabama, and so those are hotter climates. And then you're doing one where it's going to be sub 40 degrees on race day and have a super cold swim. So that's not really reflective of the rest of the year either. But I think that a lot of people kind of feel the same way.
The thing that annoys me the most, or not annoys me, but I think should be changed is, I guess they have changed it, but when they have brand new obstacles that they've never had before, and the first time these world champion athletes are seeing them is at the World Championship race, and they have to figure out technique, and I don't like that's a factor I don't like. I think they've gotten better at that, but I remember noticing that before. And
see, I actually disagree with that. I think that most of the elite athletes and the ones who are going to be racing in the championship, they're sick of having the same basic order of obstacles throughout the entire year, and they want a challenge. You hear all the time, it's either miss the spear or you don't. No one's going to fail anything else. So I feel like if they're going to throw something new, go and do it. That'll actually mix things up for once. So that's my take on it.
Do you think the best way to do that is with a new obstacle they haven't seen before, or a harder version of obstacles that they already know how to complete?
Both. Why not? They did that monkey twister monkey, where basically you had, or twister monkey twister. I think you started off with twister, you want one length, and then you did monkey bars, and then you ended up having to turn around and go back into twister again. And that messed people up a little bit. And it was just kind of a harder version of a combination of existing obstacles. But I feel like something like that's very effective. But at the same time, don't have all rings on the rig 20 feet from the finish line like you did last year. Make it harder. Do it like they used to have it 3-4 years ago when it was actually challenging. Obviously, you race hard enough, you're going to be destroyed anyway, and rings probably don't feel as easy as normal after a Tahoe course where you're going with everything on the line. But you got to challenge the best racers, and I think that they have that opportunity given that it's racing on Sunday instead of Saturday this year. You can actually switch up the course overnight, so it's not identical to the open heat, which is who you're really catering to most of the year. You'll actually be able to cater to the true elites the next day.
That's a pretty big change they've made this year. Typically, the World Championship has been on Saturday, just the first heat Saturday morning, and then the rest of the weekend.
And not just that, it's also at 9 a.m., which is nice.
So talk about that. What are the changes they made this year compared to past years?
Yeah, as you mentioned, they're going to be having the true World Championship heat, and that's going to be at 9 a.m. on Sunday, September 29th, instead of Saturday. So that's going to definitely put an entire focus on that day. Is solely going to be on the elite championship race instead. I mean, it obviously is, and a lot of the racers in the past just wanted to show up so they can kind of partake in the same course as the rest of the elites on that same day. But this Sunday is becoming championship day for them.
Do you think the people from Saturday, the open waivers, will stick around to watch the race the next day?
I think that they might be tempted because of what's going on Saturday night. You heard about the CrossFit Throwdown?
I did. Talk about that.
So that's a pretty awesome event in my opinion. So what they're going to do is they're choosing 3 men from CrossFit: Jacob Hepner, Sean Sweeney, and Cameron Smith, I believe. And then they're going to be going head to head against 3 of OCR's best representatives for functional fitness, with Hunter McIntyre, Matt Kempson, and Isaiah Vidal. And what they're going to do, all of them are going to run, but I don't know what time, maybe like 9 or 8 o'clock on Saturday. So they're not in the Sunday championship heat. This is a completely separate event. Even though they're championship caliber athletes with a really good OCR history, they are not running with the Atkins and the Killians of the next day. These guys are going to be running the full beast course, but the CrossFit athletes are going to start with a 30-minute head start. And if the CrossFit athletes get caught, they lose a point in the scoring system that they get, and the OCR athletes will end up getting a point as well. And on the women's side, they're having Corinna Coffin versus representing OCR, even though she's has a CrossFit background as well, going against TMX champion Emma Chapman. So there's only one-on-one for the females, but 3-on-3 for the men. They just couldn't get the rest of the field to fill up for the women. But I think that it's going to be a great competition. So they're going to run the beast in the morning. And then right around 2 o'clock, so a few hours after they finish, all of them are going to do 4 separate events. And it's going to be, you've seen those RAM burpees that everyone's using, the 55 pounds.
Sure.
So those have just been a game changer at the stadium races. And that, like, for instance, round the first event, after everyone rests for a few hours, after running the top of beast, like you're going to rest, you're going to do 4 rounds of 12 thrusters with the RAM roller, and then you're doing 20 meters of overhead lunges, and then 150-pound dead ball over the shoulder. You do that twice, and then you throw the dead ball over a wall twice, and then you scale a couple of 4 and 6 foot walls. Do that holding 4 times. So that's like a very, very high intensity functional fitness type thing. And then after that, the second event is going to be 5 dead ball ground to overhead. So you have 100 pounds, and then you're basically just picking it up and then doing full extension above the head with a 100-pound sandbag. And so you do 5 of those, and then you're going to do a double sandbag of increasing distance. So the first time you do the double sandbag, it's only going to be 25 meters, and then you're going to do 50 meters, 75, 100 meters. I don't know if it's uphill or not, but bottom line, they're increasing the distance of the heavy carry. And I think my personal opinion is that this is really going to show that just brute force isn't going to win you a heavy carry contest. Like, everyone thinks that, the bigger races are going to have the biggest advantage of the bucket carry and, the sandbag. But through the years, it's been like John Yatsko and Ryan Woods and Jon Albon. Like, they've all been some of the best heavy carriers in the sport. And you look at them and they're not looking like Hunter McIntyre or CrossFit Games athlete. It's all about your engine. Once you get it onto your shoulder or you have a good grip on it, as long as you don't put it down, the person who can move their feet faster is usually going to be the one who's a better runner. So I think that's going to kind of put to rest the big discrepancy on you have to be bigger to be good at heavy carries. So I'm looking forward to that. And then they're having a true, basically CrossFit style workout called the Lumberjack for the 3rd WOD style event. You're going to do 30 deadlifts round 1 at 225 for the men, 155 for the women. And then you're going to do 4 log flips. I don't know why they're not doing a tire flip, but I guess they're doing log flips, and it weighs 400 pounds, and then you're jumping over it 10 times. And then you go back, you do 20 deadlifts, repeat, 10 deadlifts, and then repeat, and then you're done. So you can see that most of these are going to be like just 5 to 15 minute rounds that are pretty high intensity, especially after running the beast course. That's going to be pretty interesting. And then the final event is a ladder with the RAM burpees. So you're going to do 16 RAM burpees, do a barbed wire crawl with the RAM, and then you're going to do a plate drag, and then you go and do 14, 12, 10, and 8. So it's like a decreasing ladder. And I think that's going to be a very, very deceiving round, especially after the whole course of the events throughout the day happened. I think that's going to really beat people up.
It's kind of their own version of Spartan MX.
Yeah, or almost like the Spartan games instead of the CrossFit games. So
that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Watch that.
Yeah, so that's going to be like Saturday afternoon. So if you run Saturday and you're not running on Sunday because you didn't qualify for the championship heat, stick around and watch that. And I mean, you know that Hunter and Matt Kempson and Jacob Hepner, those guys are really entertaining. And Yancey's going to be being the referee for it, and David Magida is going to give commentary. So like, there's going to be some big personalities around there, and I just think that it's going to be a very unique experience and a lot of trash talk. So if I was there, I would totally go and watch that on Saturday night, and then see who actually is the champion the next day. I mean, you're already there. Unless you have a flight to catch, you might as well go and see you cross the finish line first and is the 2019 world champ.
Yeah, and Jacob Hebner is just straight up hilarious. So
you should, if you have not seen his videos, like trash talking, go and watch it. Like, he's doing one where he is basically doing like a spoof of training for OCR, and he gets in front of like this, the standard tire, and he's about to go and flip it, like practice the tire flip, and one of his friends is like, no, the OCR tire, and it's like a Honda Civic tire, and he just like flips it a few times, and it's just like pretty hilarious how he's just bashing OCR. But I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening on Saturday, because he's not going against a bunch of scrubs. Not that he is, or any of his fellow CrossFit Game athletes are, but I think that the Beast course is really going to change things and give a little bit more respect to OCR in the CrossFit community.
So after all of the Saturday festivities, on Sunday is the World Championship. Let's talk about the course, and then we'll talk about the athletes. What do we know about the course as we're talking now?
So right now, Wednesday night, that's when we're talking. We have not seen an official course map. They haven't laid out the obstacles, but there are being hints given out. Like, some people got the volunteer map or what, and it zooms in on the festival area, and you can actually see the map on like that blurry pixelated picture that they usually show online. But it only shows a small portion of the festival area, but it has like 4 or 5 obstacles in a row listed on it. And that's at the bottom of the first climb. And I think that it was like a wall, and I don't have it in front of me, but there were just it was on the OCR Discord channel. So if you want to check that out, feel free. But Steve Hammond, he talked with Matthew Davis and said basically it's almost the same course as 2017 from what it looks like. What Steve described was big lump, little lump. And if you ran the course a couple of years ago, it's that long climb, roughly maybe like 2,000 feet of gain. It's more gradual in this portion. And then maybe around the 5 mile mark, you bomb downhill for 2.5 miles. Then you go to the festival area, you do a few obstacles like I was just mentioning, and then it's the really, really steep climb at the top of the second climb. And then there's like 1.5 miles bombing downhill afterwards, and then you're done. So it looks like the stereotypical Tahoe course for the championships. Like, I know that 2016 was basically the reverse of 2017, and 2015 is the only one that's not really kind of a mirror image of a previous year. So I think that athletes will know what to expect from this layout because they've seen it before.
Who are the athletes that are good at that bombing downhill type of course?
Who would you say is the number one downhill threat in the sport based on what he's done this year?
Johnny Luma-Lima has surprised me. I always love betting with Ryan Atkins because he makes me look smart. Mm-hmm. And then I think VJ Jones may surprise some people. He's never really contended for a world championship, but I think he could do well as well.
Gotcha. So Johnny is definitely the man to beat on downhills. As we've just seen him just crush Big Bear. He had the fastest descent at Utah. Utah was just go to the top, go down, just a single up then down. And he ended up having almost or exactly a minute faster than Atkins. And Ryan Kempson was actually the second fastest descender on that. He was only 23 seconds slower than Johnny on that descent. Everyone else was a minute to 3 minutes behind him in the top 10. So if you have a long downhill section, Ryan Kempson and Johnny Luma-Lima were actually the 2 best descenders at most of these major courses throughout the season. So don't sleep on Kempson for having a couple of strong downhills. I know in the past he struggled at Tahoe. It just hasn't been his best type of course, whether it's the elevation, bad nutrition, and I think he was like 33rd last year, and in the past he's finished in like the 70s and 80s. Like, he just hasn't had great success in Tahoe in the past. But let's be real, Ryan Kempson 2019 version is not the same as Ryan Kempson before this. You know what?
You're not wrong, and I've already prepared my top 10 list of male athletes, and
really.
I feel like I should have Kempson higher than I do. That's the thing about making these top 10 lists is we go out there, we put it on the record, and everyone else can make predictions on yanceycamp.com, but like our voices are attached to it, and Kempson hears we like pick him, whatever we pick him at, And like, or not Kempson, but everyone, all these athletes, they can take it personal, and I get it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and like
eighth place, man? What are you talking about?
I talked to several of them, and it's like I 100% believe in them. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be like a 3-minute spread between like 8th and 20th place. Like it's going to be you shaved a few seconds here, and that made the difference type of race. Like I think that it's going to be so clustered. I still think the top 3 or 4 are going to have a little bit of a breakaway pack, but I think that everyone in that next group is going to be so tightly clustered, and there's going to be just so many names fighting for a top 10 that a top 15, top 20 this year might be just as good as getting top 10 a couple of years ago, just based on how improved the sport is at this point.
Let's talk about the athletes and where we think they're going to finish. Who are your top men to keep an eye on this weekend?
Well, I think the man to beat at any championship race would be Jon Albon. When would you? I know that Atkins gets a lot of the press in the U.S., rightfully so. He's always right there contending for the win. But Jon Albon is undefeated at OCR World Championship in every single race he's done since 2014 when it started. He's the 2-time Spartan Race World Champion. He's ultra running world champion. He's the reigning Spartan Race World Champion at this exact venue in a course that's going to be pretty similar to previous ones that he's already run. I think it's hard to pick against him, as well as Johnny Luma-Lima and the rest of the field has been racing all year.
The knock against Albon for several years was that he couldn't win it in Tahoe. And then
until he did.
And now I would not bet against him. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's one of those kind of like the Patriots. It's like, are you really going to bet against them? Like, yes, they might lose every once in a while, and it's probably going to be a shocker, but you know, when playoff time comes around, they're going to be literally the team that everyone fears starting up or on the same day. So I think that until Albon proves otherwise, that he's not the man to beat, I'm not going against him.
Not to turn this into a football podcast, but I saw somebody walking around with an 18-1 T-shirt the other day, and it made me laugh.
Yeah, that's probably 18 more wins than, or probably 8 more wins than their team had that year. So
if we put Jon Albon in first place, who do you think we should watch for the podium? Second place, third place, man.
Well, you said you already have your top 10 picks prepared. I want to hear why.
Well, I'll tell you my 10, and I think you would agree to me at some point. After a while, it gets to be guessing, and you're like,
do you want to do top 5, and then how about like honorable mentions on who you think is going to be in that super close chase pack, if you think so?
Okay,
and just kind of give reasons why you think that there's an A group and a B group.
Okay, sure. So let me just give you my top 5, and then we'll talk about it. So in first place, I have Jon Albon. In second place, I have Ryan Woods. Third place, I have Johnny Luma-Lima. Fourth place, I have Ryan Atkins. And fifth place, I have VJ Jones. And it kills me to keep Kempson out of that top 5. But Ryan Woods, I feel like we know Ryan Woods. We know, I feel like as far as a person, I feel like he's on the podcast. He's, very public. He's like, he had a rough year a couple years ago that was very public. But I feel like Ryan Woods, and this is, I can't actually probably back this up with numbers, but I feel like Ryan Woods is going to surprise us this weekend. Johnny Luma-Lima came on real strong at the end of the year. And if Johnny Luma-Lima won the whole thing, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like he legitimately could, especially with the course, especially with his performance toward the end of the year. But until I can't pick anybody to beat Albon, so I haven't been third.
Would you have picked Johnny to win 2 races this year, though?
I wouldn't have.
So I feel like he's kind of pulling a Rebecca Hammond. She didn't get the big wins last year, but he wasn't on it. I feel like the athletes knew who he was heading into this year. I mean, he got like 11th last year and 20th when he was like 20 years old a few years ago, got 3rd at the European Championship a couple of years ago. Like, he has not just been this is Johnny. Like, yeah, he came out of nowhere. Like, he's been developing as a very, very solid athlete for a while. And this year was when it just kind of all came together. But if you look at his stats based on some of the timing match splits that are available from Tahoe in the past, he runs like a perfect race. That guy just knows how to pace. In general, like, his ratio of the second half of the race to the first half of the race is one of like the top 2 or 3 in the entire race. So that means that he's losing, or he's not losing pace like some of the other guys who go out way too hard. So I feel like he just knows how to pace it, and he's been here 2 other times. It's not like he's going to be brand new either. So something just tells me this is the year of Johnny.
You think I have him low at 3?
No, I actually, I do think low at 3. I have him second place personally.
Okay. In fourth place, I have Ryan Atkins. And usually, any other year, I would have him in second. But he, like 6 days ago, finished running the Eco Challenge in Fiji. And we all know Ryan Atkins is remarkable, incredible powers of recovery. He's there's not enough like good things you can say about Ryan Atkins in OCR, right? But I
agree.
I think I did this with Ray Coble. I don't remember which race it was this year. But she had just raced a big race a week before, and I was like, oh, no, she's going to come back, and she's going to get, like, second place.
Oh, and that was she did that Sky race.
Yes, she did the Sky race, and a week later she did one of the U.S. Championship Series races.
Yeah, she got Utah, and she got, like, or I think maybe Big Bear. I don't know. I just remember she underperformed, and you had her, like, second.
Yeah, I did.
And I was like, I just don't think she can recover like that, and it turned out that earlier this season that already happened to her, where she just, as great of a recoverer and an athlete she is, she just wasn't able to recover. So I fear that the same thing's going to happen to Atkins. As amazing and consistent as he's been at every major race throughout his life, I just feel like the body can only handle so much in so short of a time.
Totally agree. That's why I've got him, which to me it feels low at 4th, but if he finished second, it wouldn't surprise me. If he finished 9th, it wouldn't surprise me, but I've got him at 4th.
If he won, would it surprise you?
Man, you know what? I picked Atkins to win every year the last like 3 years, and this is the biggest race, really the only big race that he hasn't won in OCR. Well, OCR Worlds, so that's not true. But he's finished second like 4 times. Is that right?
3 times, I believe. Oh, four total, not at Tahoe. Yeah.
So it was. I don't know. I got him at 4th, and I feel good about that. He may be 5th, 4th. I got him at 4th place.
Which would surprise you more, if Atkins finishes 7th or 1st?
You know what? Coming off that Fiji thing, I think 1st might surprise me. I don't like betting against Atkins. I really don't, ever.
Because that's his worst ever finish in any Spartan race in his life, and he only does the big ones against the toughest competition. So that would be quote-unquote imploding for him, 7th, which is like ridiculous. But can I give you a couple stats?
Please.
So if you look at the history of Spartan Race World Championship, not just Tahoe, I'm looking at when they had it in Texas. Not that many people who are still here are racing, or who are still racing were there. And then when it was at Killington as well. So I looked at the average finishing place for anyone who's run 2+ races. Do you know who has the highest average finishing place for men?
The average highest finishing place.
Or no, the average finishing place. Who's the highest? Or I guess lowest in this case. Like their average finishing place is 2.4 overall. Who has that?
Jon Albon.
It's actually 3 people. It's Albon, Hobie, and Atkins, all tied at 2.4.
Really?
Yep. And Killian is just behind them at 2.5 for his average place. So those 4 people have averaged getting on the podium in their entire career at World Championship races. That's pretty remarkable.
I'll bet you if you had done that, calculated that stat like a year ago or a year and a half ago, Killian would have been higher. Like he would have been all by himself in 1st.
Yeah, he probably. Well, I mean, he's never missed a podium in 4 years.
He's never missed a podium, even with all the races he does.
He's never missed the podium at Spartan Race World Championship.
That's remarkable. So Killian's going to make me look bad too. I've got him.
Yeah, a lot of people are sleeping on him this year, but Robert Killian got 1st in 2015 and 3rd the past 3 years in a row.
I feel like 2015 Killian's not coming through that door.
I feel like a lot of people say that.
And I don't want to say that about Killian. He's a great guy, and I've talked to him, multiple times. He's a stud. He'd kick my butt any day. Man, all right. Well, that's why they run the races. So, and then in 5th place, I had VJ Jones. VJ had a great start to the season. He started so strong. I think it was difficult to maintain that all year long. Mm-hmm. But I think VJ can pull out 5th place this weekend.
Got it. Yeah, he's been. Everyone has kind of seen a changing of the guard with the young guys. He's the first athlete who really grew up doing OCR as his primary sport instead of transitioning from just a pure running background. Like he's been doing OCR forever. So I mean, I feel like this is just going to be a trend that keeps on happening. There's probably, I know Cody Mode and Hobie Call, they've got some really talented sons as well. So maybe in a few years they'll be contending with VJ just based on the pedigree and just growing up around the sport. But yeah, this just feels like the year of VJ as well.
Jack, give me your top 5 men.
All right. I think that Jon Albon's going to win it. Second place, Johnny Luma-Lima. Third place, I'm going Woods. Fourth place, I'm going Atkins, only due to the fatigue factor. And then fifth place it's just so tough. But just based on, he just seems like he's going to be peaking at the right time. I'm going to go with Killian.
I had Killian at 9th. I have and the
9. Oh, there's no way Killian's getting 9th. No way.
The one that I went back and forth on was VJ Jones in 5th and Ryan Kempson in 6th. I could see that flipping. I mean, and seriously, like we're talking 5th and 6th place, they're probably going to finish, within less than a minute of each other.
That's
maybe 20 seconds.
I think it's going to be like a 3-minute spread for 10 people after the top 5.
Who would be some dark horses to watch for on the men's side?
On the men's side, who do you think? So Albon's kind of the well-known international racer for non-North American racer, because obviously you have a lot of the Canadians.
Right.
Who do you think of, or who do you think should be probably the next best European to watch?
The next best European, you're gonna have to tell me.
Okay, Albert Soleil is the guy that I would go with. He actually just ran that Oberndorf Tyrol race in Austria.
Okay.
The one that Killian says he would put as a future world championship site if he had his way. Like that, I watched the live stream of that. That venue looks amazing. It like goes in a quarry. It goes in a Seattle like forest, and goes up a 4,000 foot climb. Like it just, the terrain looked amazing. But anyway, he ended up beating Killian by like 10 minutes. And Albert Soleil, he started his career with like 19 for 19 winning races, not just like podium races, but winning races. And he has a really, really strong background in, I want to say, mountain biking. And that's kind of like what Ryan Atkins had as well. So he's pretty fearless on the downhills, and he's a great climber. And just based on that, how much he's been dominating just the European circuit over the past couple of years, he ended up getting 14th last year, which must be disappointing for him. But I still think that Albert Soleil is a really, really solid pick to be the next best European. I have him in 9th. I think that he's going to break the top 10. And then just a couple other names that you wouldn't think of. I think Taylor Turney, he got 19th last year, and he's from Alaska. It's going to be a cold race, but he's also the guy who was 1 second off of setting the downhill record for Mount Marathon, that crazy downhill course up in Alaska. So he was like a minute and a half faster than Killian Jornet, and Max King ended up descending. And those guys are two of the best mountain runners in the world. So you have a crazy long descents, and he almost just took down Ian Hosick, and he's had several podiums at Mountain Series races this year. I just think that this is going to be the year he's going to improve on his 18th place finish from last year. And then one other guy that never gets any love, he's so consistent, John Howell. Have you ever heard the name?
John, I've heard the name. I've never seen him race, though.
Okay, yeah. So he's one of the most underrated racers, period. In the past 3 years, he's got 15th at Tahoe last year, 20th the year before, and then 18th in 2016. And he's a Masters athlete, but no one ever talks about him because he's not named Cody Mode or Hobie Call, or like Matt Novakovic for the Masters athletes through the years. The guy never gets any love, but he literally finished like less than 2 minutes behind Tyler Veerman, John Yasko, VJ Jones last year. He ended up beating several of the pro team members. He was like 7 minutes ahead of Aaron Newell as well. So I think that, I don't know if he'll get top 10, but I just wanted to give John Howell a shout out because he's just been performing really well through the years, and he never really gets any respect as arguably the best non-former world champion Masters athlete out there. And then one other name that I would mention, he was in 5th place last year at the top of the first climb. Very few people have, I don't know if he's going to run this year, but he missed his spear, and then his race kind of fell apart. But he's like a 3-time Olympic skier. Peter Malinar, I think he's from Slovakia or the Czech Republic. But anybody who can be in 5th place 45 plus minutes into the race last year if he gets his obstacle game down, that's a guy who can definitely do some damage on a course like this. And he's won several races in Europe this year as well. I don't know if he's traveling back over here, but like I said, he was kind of the who the heck is that in the live stream video last year. So he might be that international guy who you're like, I've never heard of this guy. Who is he? But that could be a name to watch as well if he races.
Good names. I noticed that we have the top 4 same names. Just we have second and third place swapped.
Yeah, I think that Johnny and Johnny. It's been the Ryan show, hasn't it? But I think it's going to be the Johnny show in Tahoe.
Change to the John show next year.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be pretty crazy though. I just think that they're going to have some amazing downhill. I am willing to bet that there will be a sub 15-minute 5K at some portion in this race on a downhill.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that's running like 450 mile pace in the middle of this half marathon length obstacle race. But I still think that it's going to be a crazy descent. And I mean, I have Atkins in fourth. The guy just brings it all the time. But I feel like Woods, just based on his showing in West Virginia, and everyone thought he had a terrible season, but he's just been kind of unlucky with injuries and the truck skate and stuff. But he's been fit all year. And he just kind of manhandled everyone in West Virginia. So I feel like he's peaking at the right time. And it's, he's led at the top of the first climb the past couple of years with Killian. So I feel like he'll put together a great race. So that's why I have him in the podium this year.
All right. We're going to do a separate episode talking about the women. But any last thoughts on the men before we go?
Do you want me to just kind of give a couple more just random stats on previous races?
Absolutely. What should we watch for?
Okay, so I'm mainly going to go over like previous years of World Championship races. So if let's say that you were like last year, 10th place in the World Championship, finished 9.3% behind the winner. What do you think 10th place finished in 2011 in the men's race?
8 years ago?
Yeah,
I would say 15%.
30.1. That's stupid. So basically, over the past couple of years, or since the beginning of the sport, you're having people almost 3 times closer to the winner finishing in 10th place than they used to at the beginning. And over the course of the past few years, it's kind of been clustered around that like 90 to 92% roughly percent of winner. So my guess is if this is like a 2-hour race, you're going to have or maybe a 2:10 race, you're going to have a huge cluster of people in the high 2:10s to low 2:20s. I'd be willing to bet probably about 15 people finish between 2:15 and 2:25, maybe even 20 people doing that, just based on how the trends have continued and if that's how long the course is going to take. And then if you also look, it's not just the top 10 who's really improved. I would say arguably the biggest improvements have come between that 11th through 25th position. And early on, like you had just 50 plus, it was about a 55% gap between 11th and 25th, or 25th and the winner. And then now, last year, the 25th place person was finishing 84% of the winner. So like you're having 30% improvement right there off just how much deeper the field is. In the past few years, it's kind of hovered around that same area. So I would think that you're going to have a major cluster between those roughly 8 to 20th place or so. You're going to have them within a few minutes of each other.
Crazy. Yeah,
pretty insane. And then I mentioned to you earlier that Albon, Atkins, and Hobie have that average, the highest average finish, 2.4 overall. So we said Killian's fourth and 2.5. Give me the next 3. Who do you think they are?
Give me the first 3 again.
Albon, Hobie, and Atkins are tied.
Albon,
and then Killian is just behind them. Who are the next 3 highest or best average finish
at the World Championships?
Yep, with 2+ races.
I'm going to go Cody Moat.
He's next with 3.1 for his average place.
I'm going to go Ryan Woods.
Nope. Ryan Woods actually had a 22nd, 11, 6, and 4.
Oh, man. Show me Ryan Kent.
No, it's not Ryan Kent. It's actually Hunter McIntyre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Hunter's been super consistent, 3.5, 7, 6, 5. So had a really solid showing throughout his career. Ryan Kent, he's had 8, 16, 12, and 6. So pick an even number for him because that's kind of what he seems to do. And then the last guy, John Yasko.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He actually ended up getting 11th last year. So a lot of people are kind of surprised that he, disappeared and came back, but his 2 races, he got 4th and 11th. So that's an average of 7.5 place.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be crazy course. And if anybody wants to go and get their votes out, go to yanceycamp.com. Got a top 10 contest. Will, you going to put a link to this at the bottom so they can just click it?
Absolutely, put a link. How many people have submitted their votes already?
Over 100.
Over 100 people. What are the prizes for the best selections?
You end up getting an awesome prize pack from Beat Elite, like $400 worth of supplements that are Human End. They're the makers of Beat Elite. And then you're going to get some Gooder sunglasses as well. And we're going to have the leaderboard throughout the season posted before Tahoe, so you can kind of see where you stack up. And just because you haven't entered so far doesn't mean you're disqualified from entering. It's, this can be your first time and you can still win the prize. So I think it's going to be an awesome to see if people actually do as well as they think they know the sport. And it kind of puts a little less pressure on us because we're the ones who are vocally making our picks available on this podcast. And I'm not going to reveal everyone's ballot publicly, but it's like, put your money where your mouth is. If you think it's so easy, go and do it. And then they'll see how you stack up.
Here's the thing. I don't want to hear a single criticism from anybody unless they have already said, like, put their votes in. Like that's, and you know what? If they do, and they say, you know what? You're an idiot for putting so-and-so so high or so-and-so so low. That's awesome. Great. Just put it down in paper beforehand, and then we'll talk afterwards. And that I might be wrong. I have no problem being wrong. I'm wrong all the time. So, but if you want to bring it, or have a conversation, then you need to put your. And I say your money. It's free to enter, but
I was going to say there's zero cost to enter. So let's not get money confused in this scenario.
But all right, awesome. Well, hey, let's take a break, and then let's talk about the ladies in the next episode.
Okay, sounds good.
So who's going to win it? Will it be Jon Albon again? Will it finally be Ryan Atkins' year? Make your picks at yanceycamp.com. Call your shot while you're on the internet. Why don't you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts? Be sure to stay tuned for our women's preview. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.